your forecast first from KLBK, sponsored by Lubbock National Bank.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. Gorgeous day out there today, as you can see from our sky view at the Overton Hotel. And when it comes to our temperatures, we have been a little bit chillier outside. Temperatures only getting into the low 70s today. As we head into early tomorrow morning, we'll drop back into the low 40s. And then by the afternoon, going to be another very mild day on tap with highs back in those low 70s. But there is a warming trend in our future. We'll have all the details coming up as the KLBK News at 6 starts right now.
Local news that matters. This is KLBK News at 6.
Coming up, how McAllister Park is getting a makeover, plus the grub farm at the South Plains Food Bank is getting some much-needed help. But first, Lubbock Police releasing information about a person of interest in a missing persons case. Good evening, and thanks so much for choosing KLBK News. I'm Terry Furman. Today, Lubbock Police announcing new information related to a missing persons case back from July. Police are naming a person of interest. 38-year-old Vicki Gray has been missing for more than 4 months now. KLBK's Alyssa Tellez joins us now with the latest in the investigation.
Terry, Lubbock police are looking into 31-year-old Timothy Edens. He's 5'9" with brown hair and brown eyes. Police say Gray would hang around the Avenue Q area. On the busy streets of Avenue Q.
Well, there's a lot of homeless people, and they stay over mostly at St. Benedict's, but they come through this park a lot.
Cars rush by and people are seen walking on sidewalks. But there's one person who hasn't been seen in more than 4 months. 38-year-old Vicki Gray.
We don't have anything further at that point. We just haven't heard from her in a while.
Police say Gray was homeless and was last seen on June 6th and are considering 31-year-old Timothy Edens as a person of interest.
We do have a person of interest. His name is Timothy Edens. He's currently staying in Slayton.
Police records indicate Gray was living at the 4500 block of 65th Street, with Edens living at the same address, a quiet neighborhood about 10 minutes from Avenue Q.
Very safe. I've really got along with the neighbors so far.
Police wanting to ensure her safety, wherever she may be.
She's not dangerous. We're just trying to locate her and check on her, make sure she's all right.
And anyone with information about Gray or Edens is asked to call Detective Shanks at 806-775-3470.
All right, thanks so much, Alyssa. Lubbock ISD students now have a chance to earn college credits before they even walk the stage for graduation. The Estacado Early College High School is a partnership with the district and Texas Tech and is the only one of its kind in the Big 12. Starting in 9th grade, students can earn up to 60 college credit hours for free. On average, that's about a $40,000 savings. Applications for the program opened this week, and current early college students and staff are talking to 8th graders across the district to get them interested.
Seeing our students benefit with credits is not only just giving them the college experience, but the savings in the families, the opportunities that they're having to go visit colleges with what they've already seen with Texas Tech. It's truly changing the trajectory of some of our students' lives and is helping out families.
Estacado's program is offered to all Lubbock ISD students regardless of what school your child attends. Well, here's a fun story. AP biology students at Levelland High School collected organisms in a playa lake today, and one student found a very rare and unique species. Now, this is a Triops longicaudus. They live in the mud, and they haven't evolved in 40 million years. So what a cool find for those kids. I can't even imagine. The South Plains Food Bank's grub farm is now complete after a $150,000 renovation. KLBK's Kelsey Pittman explains what this will do to help the youth in our community.
Since the 1980s, this building was cobbed together as a barn with no heating, cooling, or hot water. That barn has now been converted into a classroom for a youth program about life and job skills.
We have many success stories. A lot of the kids in the program come to us from the juvenile justice system. On the other end of the spectrum, we get a lot of kids that come to us from Honor Society.
Now the building is getting totally renovated.
New floors to redesigning some spaces here and there. New paint, sheetrock, new cabinetry, appliances, basically a total remodel project.
This project took about 7 months and cost about $150,000, but was all made possible by the help from the community.
A lot of our crews, dove in and did it, after hours, and when they could. There was so many materials and time and labor donated to the project.
All this hard work to help those kids.
We can do more education. This means we can pull more kids from the community who are in need of a program like this. This has opened up our classroom potential greatly.
They are still trying to fundraise for the rest of the $40,000 they need to pay for the completion. Kelsey Pittman, KLBK News.
As we learned that the officer who was responsible for her murder was arrested and charged, that was a positive moment where it seemed like the judicial system was acting a little differently. We don't see officers led away in handcuffs very often. Former Officer Dean is certainly responsible and should be held accountable, but so should the system that made a way for him.
The family of a Texas woman was shot and killed in her home and demanding answers. Tuesday afternoon, police released an arrest warrant that documents what happened in the moments before and after Tatiana Jefferson's death. The Texas police officer accused of shooting a woman in her home has been charged with murder. Aaron Dean resigned from his job on Monday and he was arrested hours later. Dean has not spoken with police about the shooting, but he was arrested Monday night and bonded out of jail on a $200,000 bond. Fort Worth city officials say the shooting is unacceptable. Omar Jimenez has more.
Less than 3 days after Tatiana Jefferson was killed in the bedroom of her own home, the officer who police say fired the shot.
Aaron Dean, ID 4598, was the officer who responded to the call and fired the shot that killed Tatiana.
Aaron Dean now charged with murder. But for the family of Jefferson, justice is still a long way off.
Senseless. My daughter was 28 years old, had her whole life in front of her.
The family's lawyer, civil rights attorney Lee Merritt, tweeting, "The family of Tatiana Jefferson is relieved that Aaron Dean has been arrested and charged with murder. We need to see this through to a vigorous prosecution and appropriate sentencing."
Watching the video, I don't understand. There's no way to go in thinking that you have to shoot someone every time you go on the call.
The call was for what was supposed to be a simple welfare check. A neighbor was concerned about open doors, so he called the non-emergency line.
Well, the front doors have been open since 10 o'clock, and I haven't seen anybody moving around. It's not normal for them to have both of the doors open this time of night.
Police released edited body camera footage showing the responding officers moving through Jefferson's property in the dark with a flashlight. No announcement that officers were outside the window. Then Dean quickly approaches a window with his gun drawn, yelling, and within seconds, firing a single fatal shot.
Put your hands up! Show me your hands!
Tatiana Jefferson was killed as her 8-year-old nephew in the room watched.
The first thing he told me was he was sad. And I asked him, why was he sad? And he told me because the police had shot his aunt.
Nobody looked at that video and said there's any doubt that this officer acted inappropriately.
Now, Dean is charged with murdering Tatiana Jefferson, killed less than 10 minutes after that initial call for a welfare check in the bedroom of her own home.
Exciting things happening over in McAllister Park that everyone in the family can look forward to. KLBK's Leah Doherty has a sneak peek for us.
Well, Terry, right now the city is only using a small portion of the 300-acre park, so they've certainly got a lot of room to work with, but some of the proposed amenities have been a multi-purpose center, jogging trails, splash pads, food trucks, and a dog park. And they said construction on that dog park is expected to begin in early 2020. McAllister Park is located in Councilman Randy Christian's district. Since being elected to the Lubbock City Council in 2018, he says bringing McAllister back to its glory days has always been a high priority for him. As far as funding for the project, Councilman Christian says his goal is to start getting contributions for different projects, corporate sponsors, naming rights, but there will also be some city money involved as well. And coming up tonight at 10, we'll show you that master plan of McAllister Park and everything you can expect to see in the near future. Reporting in West Lubbock, I'm Leah Doherty, KLBK News.
Thanks, Leah. Tonight, we're proud to debut a new era in local news here at KLBK. You might have noticed we've been broadcasting from a small temporary set for the past couple of months while our new state-of-the-art studio was being built. Now, after months of planning, demolition, building, and rehearsing, we're proud to bring you to the most state-of-the-art news studio here in Lubbock. It all started in November of 1952 when KLBK became the first television station in Lubbock. The building and the studio were built at the same place we broadcast from today, here at 74th and University. Back then, people lined up to get a first glimpse of Lubbock history and to see the first newscast in Lubbock. Well, the times have certainly changed, and obviously, so has the technology. It all started with an idea and a design on paper and a commitment to enhance our news coverage in the community. As you see in our studio time-lapse video, demolition began in late August as our old set was torn down. Then came the building of our new state-of-the-art studio from the ground up. Our original studio walls needed a fresh coat of paint, and then new floors were installed. Then the builders arrived, spending more than a week putting it all together. When they left, brand new lighting with more than 90 new LED light fixtures. And after weeks of hard work, the finished product. It's bigger and brighter and changes the way we can present local stories to you. The high-tech studio has 34 large monitors. Our large media wall helps bring new technology to present unique stories, severe weather coverage, and many aspects of all of your local sports coverage. We've got access to more than 60 live cameras across Lubbock and the South Plains. We also installed a computerized light grid that can change our set to hundreds of different colors. It's all new technology designed to tell your stories in the sharpest and most creative way possible. And it's not Dallas or Austin. It's right here in Lubbock on KLBK. We want to thank our company Nexstar for investing in our station and the community to tell your stories the best way possible. And all of the builders, designers, and our engineering staff who work tirelessly to make today a reality. And of course, it takes a lot of people behind the scenes to make our team work. And we're committed to continuing to bring you local stories happening across the South Plains that affect you and your family. Well, coming up a little later in our newscast, after a long hike with his owner, Floyd the dog decided he was done. We'll tell you how he was rescued, but first, let's check back in with our meteorologist, Heidi Wagner. Heidi, it was a little bit cooler today.
It was.
Will we see warmer temps again this fall?
Yes, this fall we will see a few more warm temps. Of course, today about 7 degrees cooler than what we saw yesterday. 76 degrees right at average. 55 was the lows, a little bit above average for that. But as mentioned, warming trend will begin again after tomorrow. We'll have those details after the break.
You're watching KLBK, local news that matters, with Terry Furman, meteorologist Heidi Wagner, and Paul Tubb Sports. This is KLBK News that matters. You're watching KLBK News at 6.
In your border report, a wildlife refuge in the Rio Grande Valley says the border wall is threatening a wildlife refuge. Congress appropriated more than $1 billion for border wall construction in 2019, but originally exempted the Santa Ana Wildlife Refuge and other historical sites. But the far northeast section of the refuge is vulnerable to construction because a part of it is not technically owned by the refuge. Advocates worry that it is a gray area that part of the 150-foot enforcement zone will be built on. Representative Philemon Vela also expressed concerns to BorderReport.com that the wall might encroach on protected land by building on a levee that controls water that directly impacts the refugees' land. For the full story and more like it, just visit BorderReport.com. The controversy over immigration and the census may have already done damage to the accuracy of the 2020 census. Some lawmakers fear that the high-profile court battle over a question about the U.S. citizenship on the census forms may scare immigrants, especially Hispanics, away from participating in the once-a-decade population's tally.
In a few months, every single person in the United States will receive this.
Asking very basic demographic information, primarily about your household.
Mary Jo Hooksema with the Census Project Coalition says this quick questionnaire is part of the nation's official head count, required by the Constitution every 10 years. And she says it holds a lot of weight.
The census is about money and power.
The data collected by the census determines how many seats each state gets in Congress and how much money. Congress sets aside $1.5 trillion every decade for federal programs like Medicaid and infrastructure. That money is divvied up among the states based on population.
Texas has a higher percentage of Hispanics than other states and a higher percentage of non-citizens, and they tend not to participate in the census.
George Washington University professor Andrew Reamer says recent research shows 1% of Texans were left out of the last census, costing the state billions of federal dollars.
We need them counted so that we get the federal dollars that we deserve.
Texas Democratic Congressman Lloyd Doggett says the Trump administration's effort to add a citizenship question to this year's census has frightened immigrant families, even though the question was rejected by the U.S. Supreme Court.
All of that interplays to give people reason not to open their door if they've ever had anybody in their family who's not properly documented.
Doggett says everyone, documented or not, needs to be counted. In Washington, I'm Anna Warnicki.
Anna, thank you. Taco Bell's seasoned beef has been voluntarily recalled from locations in more than 20 states. More than 2 million pounds of seasoned beef were discarded from Taco Bell's restaurants and distribution centers on Friday after a customer reported they found a metal shaving in their menu item. In a release Monday, the head of Taco Bell's North American division said, as soon as we received the first consumer complaint, we immediately acted to remove the product from the affected restaurants and proactively worked with the supplier to inform the USDA of our steps to protect our guests. There are no reports of anyone getting sick or hurt. A new report accuses one of the nation's largest car retail chains of selling used vehicles with unrepaired safety recalls. The Public Interest Research Group looked into 2,400 used vehicles at 28 AutoNation dealerships nationwide. It claimed 1 in 9 had safety recall issues, including problems linked to deaths and injuries. CBS consumer investigative correspondent Anna Werner has been looking into this.
In Lake Park, Florida, dealer Earl Stewart walks through a lot filled with cars that he owns but refuses to sell because they have defective Takata airbags.
If I can't sell a car that I would sell to my own family, to my customer, I'm not going to sell the car.
Stewart estimates he's lost close to $600,000 on those cars over the past 3 years because he can't get the parts to fix them.
We have to hold those cars until the Takata airbag is available to fix it. So I'm suffering a huge amount. Most of that $500,000 plus is from depreciation.
But other dealers do sell cars with safety recalls. A new report from the U.S. Public Interest Research Group surveyed 28 AutoNation dealerships around the country and says of 2,400 used cars for sale, 1 out of 9 had unrepaired safety recalls. Some were Takata airbags and General Motors ignition switches linked to injuries and deaths.
Recalls.
Adam Garber co-authored the report.
These recalls range from explosive Takata airbags to steering malfunctions to seatbelt problems that could put the lives of drivers, passengers, and others on the road at risk even before the purchaser got home.
In 2015, AutoNation said it would no longer sell any vehicle, used or new, with an open safety recall.
Well, we're just going to put the customer first and the customer's safety first.
That was former CEO Mike Jackson on CNBC.
You better care about recalls. I think the industry has to get its act together around recalls, and we want to do our part.
But a little over a year later, AutoNation reversed course and resumed selling vehicles with active recalls. Jackson told Automotive News, with the Trump administration, there's no way that issue is going to be addressed from a regulatory point of view.
AutoNation advertises that these processes is worry-free, and they're not worry-free. If I have a car with the Takata airbag in it, that's something I'm probably pretty worried about.
AutoNation told us it has not had the opportunity to see the U.S. PIRG report, but disputed its accuracy, saying it repairs the cars if it has the parts or holds the cars if instructed to by manufacturers. For cars it does sell with unrepaired recalls, the company said they sell them with full disclosure. But Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal, who's pushing legislation to outlaw the sales of used cars with unrepaired defects, says disclosure isn't enough.
Disclosure is really no substitute for repair. The dealers who say disclosure is a substitute for repair ignore the plain facts that unsafe vehicles are a menace, not only to the passengers and drivers, but to other motorists.
AutoNation says it fully complies with all laws and regulations regarding recalls, and any suggestion that it knowingly or deliberately is seeking to mislead consumers is entirely unfounded. Anna Werner, CBS News, New York.
A month-long auto worker strike against General Motors may be nearing an end. The United Auto Workers Full National Council is reportedly meeting with GM CEO Mary Barra. It's the first time the union's council, which is made up of top officials from around the country, has been called to Detroit during the strike. Many see the high-level meeting as a sign GM and the union are close to reaching a tentative deal for a new contract. GM's striking workers want to earn top pay with full benefits within 4 years instead of the 8 that it takes now. They also want enhanced health care and 3% raises in 2 of 4 years. The strike has been going on for a month, and it will end up costing GM more than $1 billion. Another one of the companies that tests DNA to trace your family roots is getting into the health game. Ancestry.com is launching Ancestry Health today. The new service will expand its DNA screenings to test your predispositions for certain diseases and disorders. The tests will use genotyping technology to look for genetic risks related to several conditions, including heart disease, hereditary cancers, and blood-related disorders. The basic service will cost you $149, but if you're already an Ancestry DNA member, you can get the tests run for $49 without submitting a new genetic sample. Ancestry's main competitor, 23andMe, already offers similar health screenings. Well, a giant 190-pound dog had to be rescued from a trail in Utah Sunday while on a hike with his owner. About 2 miles up the Grandeur Peak Trail in Salt Lake City, the Mastiff named Floyd got exhausted, laid down, and refused to move. Several hikers called police to report the dog and his owner needed help, but thanks to the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office search and rescue team, Floyd was carried back down the trail on a stretcher. It took about 4 hours, but the rescue team's Facebook post said that Floyd was a good boy and happy to be assisted. Floyd is said to be resting at home now and, of course, getting a lot of TLC. More headed your way here on KLBK when we